Welcome. You're listening to Sons and Kings, the Psalm 2 show where we unlock the church's ancient battle cry of divine filiation and embrace the gentle kingship of Christ through the riches of the Christian tradition. Happy Tuesday. Let's begin. All right, welcome back to another episode of Sons and Kings, the Psalm 2 show. So we're continuing our discussion of verse 2. So what was that again, Pat, for everybody?
The kings of the earth stood up, and the princes met together against the Lord and against his Christ.
Boom. So, Lewis, you were saying that this reminds you of a epic Old Testament story?
Yeah, I think this, so this verse, there's a story in the Old Testament in 2 Kings that I feel like really illustrates this verse. And so 2 Kings 18:28 through 36 is a story of King Hezekiah, who's a king of Judea, and he's allied against the king of Syria, this image of this person, the Rabshakeh. And the Rabshakeh is like, I was just saying earlier, is like an Avengers villain. Like he's just like so dastardly and like so ridiculously like cartoonishly evil. But he's allayed against this king, this anointed king of God and God's people, right, in this war. And in this part of the chapter, the Rabshakeh is just shouting out all of these. He's trying, so he's allayed against them, and he's trying to convince all of the soldiers of the people of God to desert God, desert Hezekiah. Come with me. I will give you all of these comforts. I'll give you all of these things, and basically whatever you want, I will give it to you if you abandon God. I will give you all the comforts you could ever desire. I'll give you all the desires of your heart. It's very seductive. And then at the very end, after that diatribe, it says that the people were silent and answered him not a word, for the king's command was, do not answer him. And so even though they have this, even though this Rabshakeh is shouting out like, come follow me and I'll give you this land and I'll give you comfort and I'll give you all these things, the king, who's the anointed of God, is saying, like, don't answer him. Like, God has you and I have you, and we will win this battle. And I think so much that's kind of what often we face, right? We have all these things in the world calling us to comfort, to kind of give in, to kind of leave the battle and fight and kind of give in to our worst impulses, right? It's kind of like, as we were talking about in the last episode, so many things. It's the temptation to tiredness, it's weakness, it's the challenge in our relationship. All these things are calling us, kind of the siren song of give up, give up, give up. Don't continue this spiritual battle. Don't continue this fight. But then at the end of the day, I love the king's kind of command, like, don't be silent, don't answer that. And to me, I hear that and I'm just like, turn to Christ, like through aspirations, through like just remembering his presence with us always, and remembering our sonship, remembering who God's calling us to be. Through all those things, we're reminded, like, we're not alone. And no, the siren song of the world and the siren song of the devil is nothing to God. It's all a deception. It's all a ruse. And in this story, actually, it is, right? They are victorious, right, through the power of God, as we can be as well.
I like the image of silence at the end in the context of Psalm 2, because the previous verse, we talked about this last time, but or in the episodes we did on the first verse, why the people raged, but the word rage there is in Latin is fremuerunt, is to bellow, to roar.
Yes.
And that silence is a contrast to this kind of rebellious rage and loud bellowing by the part of the people in the first verse. So I think that's a kind of a great contrast with that verse.
Speaking of, what in the Latin, what is the word for like the kings rising up? What's that? Oh
yeah, it's ostiterunt, which is actually kind of interesting word. Aquinas says about this. He draws a contrast between the first verse, which is the people of lower station, with the second verse, the kings. And he says, this is a quotation from his commentary on it. Again, people of lower station could do nothing unless they had the help of those who were greater. So the people of lower station is the first verse, and the help of those who are greater, that's the second verse. Thus he describes those supplying help first through the power in the one helping. And with respect to this, he says, the kings of the earth have stood up, and the princes have met together against the Lord and against his Christ. As if he were saying, some have raged, the first verse, but others have stood up, that is, they have assisted in this malice. And he's bringing out the sense of ostiterunt. That's the same word as assisto, to assist, to stand next to someone and to help them. And so that that's kind of an interesting note here, is that the kings want to, these kind of earthly powers want to prey upon the rage and the dissatisfaction of the peoples and saying, hey, look, let me whisper, let me sing that siren song that you're referencing, Lewis. Let me assist you in this. Let me stand up next to you and whisper in your ear like worm tongue.
That's awesome. Good old Lord of the Rings reference. Love it. And I love that's the response, like say nothing. And it definitely reminds me of like always that advice that we're given when we feel the temptation kind of arise within us. Like don't engage, don't even consent, don't linger on like the thought that's presented. It's just like, no, reject right away. Try to like in the garden, Adam and Eve, like when the snake starts talking, it's like, no, like you don't engage.
Yeah.
Like say nothing.
Don't meditate on the vain things too.
Right.
Don't let it get into your head.
Yeah. And just how often the struggle is to like, or in a sense, in that moment, is to not engage in a good way. Instead, like engage with the evil rather than maybe with God, saying, hey, like, what was attractive to me about this thing? And because like Christ is there with us, always, obviously, even. And so I love that, like the way of the story. What's the name of the villain again? Is
Rabshakeh.
Rabshakeh. To say nothing. Right?
Yeah, this Rabshakeh, and also you can imagine from these kings of the earth, like they try to have this majesty about them, right? This regal, but it's kind of like a false regality, right, against the true regality of Christ. And so we have to kind of be aware that there's be a temptation to kind of these temptations will seem big. They will seem like they're, the allure will be there if we kind of give into it, which is why he's like, just don't even do it. Like, don't even let yourself, right? Kind of just like what happened in the Garden of Eden, right? They kind of allow themselves to go. At first, they're a little bit hesitant, but then you see kind of a faltering, and then a guy pulls them in, and then that's when the catastrophe happens. We've all heard about this catastrophe. And I think it can be with us as well. And that's why I think there's such wisdom in the response of like, don't even kind of give it credence. This false, siren song, this allure of the nations, this allure of the kings of the earth, of these kind of temptations that will occur to us. Just turn to God. He's the one who has victory over this. You think about all the people allayed against Christ. I even think about what's that painting where the name of the painting where Christ is Ecce Homo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you think about that, and you see like the Pilate with his majesty. You see like all the crowds out there. So much is against Christ, and Christ just seems like nothing to learn about Christ. Like, but yet he has all the power. And so sometimes our temptations and struggles in life can seem the same. They have so much weight and so much power to them. They seem, but in reality, if we're just kind of silent, be still, and know that I am God. Right? God's with us, and God can support us through anything.
Yeah, I think we should print this verse with quotation marks around Regis Terrae, around kings of the earth. They're not, there's a quote unquote kings of the earth, not the real king of the earth.
Right. Yeah. Now, in fact, there's another painting that we discovered. It's it's a painting by Piero della Francesca, and it's on the flagellation of Christ. And it's a pretty cool painting. Maybe we'll put the link in the show notes. But it shows sort of like the conspiracy that's happening while like Christ is being scourged, and then like on the border, this Italian painter like wrote these words of Psalm 2, convenerent in unum, like gathered as one against the Christ, right? Like, and is that what that means? Convener, yeah. They came together and as one against Christ. That kind of conspiracy. So it's kind of some cool to see some of the artistic interpretations of Psalm 2 that are out there.
The painting is very striking. You should take a look at it if you can, because it's Jesus being scourged in the background, and in the foreground is the three men meeting in conspiracy. It's that's the central image, is that coming together into one, and then you see the effects of it going on in the background.
Fantastic. So we're going to continue our discussion next week of verse 2. And so we'll see you next time. All this and more.
Why this tumult among nations, among peoples this useless murmuring? They arise, the kings of the earth. Princes plot against the Lord and his anointed. Come, let us break their fetters. Come, let us cast off their yoke. He who sits in the heavens laughs. The Lord is laughing them to scorn. Then he will speak in his anger. His rage will strike them with terror. It is I who have set up my king on Zion, my holy mountain. I will announce the decree of the Lord said to me, you are my son. It is I who have begotten you this day. Ask, and I shall bequeath to you the nations. Put the ends of the earth in your possession. With a rod of iron you will break them, shatter them like a potter's jar. Now, O kings, understand. Take warning, rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with awe and trembling. Pay him your homage, lest he be angry and you perish. For suddenly his anger will blaze. Blessed are they who put their trust in God.
Hey, this is Jake. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Sons and Kings, the Psalm 2 show. We're really glad that you joined us today. We hope you got something out of it. And if you did, I'd love to invite you to share with a friend or even just like or subscribe to the platform. It really helps us to get the message out to more people, help more people with the show. Thank you again, and we'll see you in the next episode.